Hello, I'm Surfer Clock.
And I'm Tap G.
And welcome to What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.
Breaking news. A giant with massive fists has scaled the studio where we record What's the Attraction. He's smashing the building, causing havoc and destruction beyond measure.
But help is on the way, folks. This is a job for Fix-It Felix Jr. With his magic golden hammer and a few power-up pies, Felix can repair the damage caused by the goon of a baddie, Wreck-It Ralph!
Is what we would say if we were in a video game. But sadly, that's not the case. Yet.
But aren't there video games for SeaWorld, Universal, and Disney World?
But Disney's newest animated movie...
Are we going to review them at some point?
Hey! What's that over there?
Where?
Oh no! A brick fell out of the ceiling and hit Tap G on the head. Better sweep this up. Wreck-It Ralph. Before Tap G and I got into the theme park reviewing gig here at WTA, we were film critics. And like a lot of critics, we're fans of the films from Walt Disney Animation Studios. And since there is a theme park tie-in in the form of a meet and greet, we decided to share our thoughts on this new movie. First, let's talk about the story of Wreck-It Ralph. Oh, hey Tap G, coming back to join us?
If a brick hit me on the head, why aren't there any on the floor?
So the story of Wreck-It Ralph begins with what you've seen from the trailers. Ralph has spent the past 30 years as a bad guy in an 8-bit arcade game called Fix-It Felix Jr. Ralph's treated like dirt, so he decides to try at being a hero and winning a medal to prove he's got what it takes to Felix and the citizens of Niceland. He rushes into a first-person shooter game called Hero's Duty, where he wins the game and gets the medal, albeit via a rather unconventional method.
But Ralph accidentally picks up a nasty creature called a Cybug, stumbles into a ship, and haphazardly crashes into the game Sugar Rush, where his medal is filched by a precocious, hyperactive girl named Vanellope von Schweetz. She uses the medal to buy her way into a race where she can finally become a racer in the game, a race she's excluded from because she's a glitch. Ralph helps out Vanellope while Felix teams up with Sergeant Calhoun from Hero's Duty to find Ralph and the Cybug. And the rest of the film is one wild ride.
It's a wild ride, of course, but it's also a surprisingly complex one. And I like that, because it's not something you normally see from a Disney movie. It's so complex, in fact, that it does provide a twist or two you don't see coming.
Now, you may have loved all the different complex stories, but I thought it was a little too much. First it starts off with Ralph's story, and then it kind of goes into Vanellope's story, and then it goes into Calhoun and Felix's story, and it kind of jumbles around a little bit. I can follow it coheratively, but it's still a lot. It's kind of like Princess and the Frog. A lot of story, told reasonably well, just a little much. But I did like that this felt like a genuinely original story. We've seen redemption stories before, but this actually felt original. I really like that.
Okay, that's the story. But how about the characters? Every good story needs great characters to tell the story, right? Let's take a look at who populated the world of Wreck-It Ralph and how they helped to tell the story.
First, let's talk about the main character himself, Ralph, played by John C. Reilly, best known from Step Brothers with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
He is a genuinely nice guy. In fact, you love him the moment you see him give out that cherry to Q*bert. And of course, you see him with all the other bad guys, and you see how genuine he really is. Then you have Vanellope, who is a very strong, sincere character, never mind being voiced by such an uncouth comedian like Sarah Silverman. But hey, if it worked for Robin Williams, it worked for Sarah, and she's very sincere. I love that. And then there's even Sergeant Calhoun, who's played by Jane Lynch, doing her voice is a lot like her Glee character, but she's so over the top and dramatic. I love just how intense she is.
Yeah, I think that Ralph, Vanellope, and Calhoun, they are really deep characters that undergo a great change. I really like those characters. Now, as far as Fix-It Felix Jr. and King Candy, I didn't like them quite as much as I thought I would. Felix plays up the nice guy angle a little too well.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost sickening to that point.
Yeah.
It's actually more over the top than Mario, and I never thought I would say that.
And then there's King Candy, who I swear is just the Mad Hatter all over again.
Yeah, he does have that Ed Wynn
from the 1951 Disney movie. He sounds and looks just like him.
Oh, definitely.
Now, let's talk about the animation. If we're being completely honest with ourselves, we'd admit that while Disney has always been renowned for its 2D animation, its 3D animation has been mediocre at best. But here in Wreck-It Ralph, it's kicked up a notch.
Dare I say it might actually rival Pixar.
No.
Yes. I mean, John Lasseter's involvement in this film might have had a little bit to do with that. He's been involved in other projects before, though, like Meet the Robinsons, where the animation wasn't quite up to that snuff. I think Disney was really kind of wading into 3D animation at that time. Now I think they've had a little more experience, and Wreck-It Ralph just sells it. There's all these different styles of animation too. It's not just the 3D world that you see kind of in reality, and we also see kind of the Game Central Station. There's also a few pixelated areas too,
like when they come out of the Badanon meeting and they're Pac-Man.
Yes, and they're tiny little 8-bit characters. They look great. It's how you would think of them in that style, and they did a really great job of capturing that.
Now, the biggest thing that really caught my attention was the Sugar Rush world. By God, that candy looked real. You could see the grains of sugar on every bit of candy. It looked like actual taffy, chocolate, what have you. I was impressed. And yeah, I agree with you. They had to work with 4 different worlds. They had to work with the 8-bit world of Wreck-It Ralph. They had to work with the real world. They had the Hero's Duty and Sugar Rush. They were all completely different styles, and they all just worked. They were great like that.
I think a lot of people were really interested, though, in seeing all their favorite video game characters in the movie. The trailer showed a few, whetting our appetites and making us want more. Sonic, Pac-Man, Bowser, Zangief from Street Fighter, Frogger, Q*bert, Paperboy, Dig Dug, and so many more all show up on screen. Let's discuss those cameos a little bit, shall we?
If this movie was to be done with just parodied or satire characters, as most R2 want to do, I was glad to see all these characters, which really sold it. I mean, you watch previews for movies like The Expendables, and you're like, wow, or Grown Ups, and you're kind of like, okay, I see a lot of great talent here, but do they really work well together? But this was actually more like Toy Story and Roger Rabbit. These were true to their original characters. It was very sincere. The characters weren't out of place. It was just perfect.
I felt like there was nobody there that didn't need to be there. They had to go through some extensive licensing hoops, and I think they did a great job. And because I think they paid so much to get some of these characters, I really think they showed a lot of respect. They put them in the right way. I feel like as far as cameos, though, it probably could have used one more kind of guest world. Now, there are a couple of guest worlds that appear. I don't want to spoil anything too much, but I feel like they're...
Thankfully, it wasn't Kingdom Hearts, Epic Mickey, or even Tron. That would have just been a little too shoehorned in.
Yeah, and definitely if it's by Disney or through Disney, it would have been a little much. However, it could have used at least one more guest world for maybe another game. Even if they would have thrown it in at the end of the credits, I think that would have been pretty cool. But what we got was actually really, really good.
When all's said and done, how's the movie as a whole? How's the message? Is it relevant? But most importantly, is it worth your price of admission?
My goodness, yes. And as a gamer, I really loved all of the different elements coming together. Disney, you showed so much love for these characters, and for that, I am so grateful. I really have no complaints other than that one guest role that could have appeared, but probably didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4.5 out of 5.
There's 2 moments in the movie I really want to congratulate it on. First of all, there's a moment where King Candy talks to Ralph, and he says that being a hero isn't about saving the day, people liking you, or winning a medal. It's about making hard choices. That is something so mature you don't see in movies, let alone Disney. That was so impressive. The other was, late in the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, there's a character we find out is actually royalty. And what they do is they actually step down from that position and they say, I want to be president. This is Disney we're talking about. They build themselves on princesses and they have a character stepping out to say, this isn't for me. I want to be democratic about this. That blew my mind. Thank you, Disney. Thank you. As a whole, full of drama, good humor, clear, beautiful passion for the gamers. A+. But with the complex story, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
Now, we mentioned that there is a theme park tie-in. Of course, it's at Disney's Hollywood Studios. If you happen by the magic of Disney animation, sit down and watch the show. This attraction, which we'll talk more in detail about in a later episode, glances over the animation process at Disney. Then, near the end, it takes a moment to do a little synergy. The show does a brief promo of whatever Disney or Pixar animated feature is in theaters or coming to theaters. In this case, obviously, it's Wreck-It Ralph.
After you exit the show, there's a room where you can explore concept art, models, sketches, and other animation tidbits that show the evolution of your favorite characters in Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph, Vanellope, Felix, Calhoun, King Candy, and so on.
But at the end of the hallway is the icing on the cake. Literally. Ralph and Vanellope are there holding daily meet and greets for guests of all ages. While you wait, enjoy the queue. It's designed like Game Central Station, a dimension where all the arcade characters use as a terminal as they traverse between games.
Here, you can see what it feels like to be on the other side of the screen in Hero's Duty and Fix-It Felix Jr. Also, there's a scrolling announcement board that alerts you about traffic conditions in each game. Super Mario Bros., pipe is currently blocked. Legend of Zelda, missing a link. Or Dig Dug, use the tunnels, and so on. Every in-joke will send gamers laughing, especially those like Surfer Clock, who is thoroughly enjoying all the video game music used as ambiance.
Like anyone can enjoy the jingle of Super Mario World without smiling.
I rest my case.
Also in Disney Quest at Downtown Disney, as an additional promotion to the movie, Disney has released 8 video game cabinets of 1982's Fix-It Felix Jr., further blurring that fine line between fantasy and reality. Now, there has not been a marketing time more genuine since the toys for the movie Toy Story.
However, while we could tell those were made by the Thinkway Company, we scoured these cabinets for manufacturer and logo, and we couldn't find one. All we could find was the name Toby Comey, the fictional manufacturer of the game from the movie, and the machines were actually a little dinged up, scraped up, and faded to look like they had endured the past 30 years a little roughly.
The gameplay is what you'd expect from what you saw in the movie. As Ralph trashes the Niceland building, it's your job as Fix-It Felix Jr. to wield the magic golden hammer and repair the building. At the end of each level, Felix wins a pie and a medal while the Nicelanders toss Ralph off of the building. As the game progresses, more obstacles come into play, like bricks, overhangs, and ducts. They all try to block your progress as Ralph continues to trash the building. How does it hold up?
It's a genuinely challenging game. It's addictive. It's just like the Donkey Kong game from the original days, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, I even love the retro aspect to it. How could you not? We're products of the 80s and 90s.
Most definitely. It plays simply enough for anyone to really enjoy, but there's definitely an increase in the challenge. Now, I also wanted to make clear a couple of things that people might be wondering about the actual game for Fix-It Felix Jr. Now, there's no voices, like you heard the voices in the movie. Those aren't here. It's more to give the genuine feeling of 1982.
No, I'm gonna wreck it. No, I can fix it. It's not there.
Yeah, Ralph gets thrown off the building after every level. There's no really change to the ending, not that we saw. And there are new obstacles that show up every couple of levels, probably up till about the 5th or 6th level. It's got some of those same addicting qualities you find in most 80s arcade games, and a lot of the people we watched play it, I mean, we played it ourselves, but we also watched other people play it, and they were definitely having a good time.
You heard all of them quoting the movie as they were playing.
Of course.
So I personally give the game a 4 out of 5. It's something I kind of wish I could play more often, wish I had it on my home console.
Yeah, I give it a 4 out of 5 myself. Wreck-It Ralph the movie? See it. The tie-ins at Disney's Hollywood Studios and Disney Quest? Go ahead and see those too. You will not be disappointed.
It's a video game movie that's definitely worth it. In fact, it's renewed my spirit about video game movies in general. I say we marathon a whole slew of them.
What?
Yeah, see? Ugh. I got Super Mario Bros., I got Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Tomb Raider, I even got the original animated Sonic the Hedgehog series. Hours of high-quality video game entertainment without actually playing the game. Now, hang on, I'm gonna go get us some popcorn, and
popcorn?
we're gonna start.
Oh, yeah, it's up on that shelf up there, right behind you.
You have a shelf up there?
Had to be done, folks. Had to be done. Now, tune in next week when we return to our standard agenda of just theme park attraction reviews. I'm Server Clock, and he's unconscious. Thanks for listening to What's the Attraction, where our work is your vacation.